The woman simply waves her hand. The special agents in front of her, their bodies start to contort. They are instantly twisted into ropes. Even one agent's eyes are taken away, using his eyes to open the protective door in front. But it's such a woman. She wakes up from a slumber. The woman finds herself trapped in a secret room. Above her head, there's a voice prompt. She needs to move the pencil on the table within the specified time. Otherwise, her daughter will disappear forever. Instantly, the room turns red. Even a strange countdown appears in the room. The woman worries about her daughter getting hurt. So she tries everything to touch the pencil, but the other side is not satisfied with her approach. They repeatedly increase the difficulty. A glass wall appears in the room. It prevents the woman from getting close. As the countdown is about to end, the woman finally lets out a desperate scream. However, just at that moment, the pencil behind the glass starts moving strangely. The countdown stops instantly as well. This puzzles the woman greatly, but they don't wait for her to think about the reason. A surge of electricity knocks her unconscious. When the woman regains consciousness, she finds herself on a beach. Her daughter is happily playing with sand beside her, but she is not aware of what happened, and there is a scar on her forehead. Shortly after, the woman wakes up again. Yet, she realizes her body is bound again. The difference is, this time, a man appears in front of her. The awakened man also looks confused. He doesn't understand where he is, but when he sees the woman's face clearly, the man prepares to hug her. The woman bites him hard instead. The man angrily says, "What's wrong with you? I'm your husband." The woman only then realizes. Fragments of memory suddenly flood into her mind. Turns out the man in front of her is indeed her husband. After confirming this, her emotions finally find an outlet. The man comforts his wife who is on the verge of breaking down. The woman asks him why he is here, but the man can't remember either. But suddenly, the woman remembers the previous task. She hurriedly tells her husband everything, but the man doesn't understand what it means. Meanwhile, the cold voice rings out again, but this time, he instructs the woman to break the pencil on the table. As the red lights turn on, the countdown in front of the woman starts again. The man doesn't understand what's happening. He keeps asking his wife. The wife explains that if she doesn't break the pencil within the given time, their daughter will disappear. The man becomes even more puzzled. Why are they playing this boring game? He directly picks up the pencil, but the lights suddenly turn blue. The cold voice instructs, this task must be completed independently by the woman. Otherwise, their mission will still be considered a failure. The woman hurriedly stops her husband and asks him to put it back. The man reluctantly puts it back on the table. This time, he is ready to free his wife from her restraints, but the wife is unsure if it would violate the rules. So, the two of them get into an argument again. When the woman angrily shouts, the pencil suddenly moves. The woman sees this scene. She recalls a previous scene. She quickly intensifies her anger. The pencil quickly breaks into two pieces. This situation is very strange. Does the woman possess magical powers? Does it require anger to unleash them? And the husband's presence triggers the wife's anger. As the woman's powers are unleashed, blood suddenly flows from her ears. But before the woman can react, electricity shocks her unconscious again. The woman wakes up. She finds herself back on the beach. This time, she sees her husband and daughter. Strangely, her husband is muttering something. Then her consciousness returns again. The woman, after waking up, she sees food on the table. Her husband, who is looking for a way out. The woman tells her husband it's useless, because she has already tried it before. So, the husband starts talking about the pencil incident just now. He believes that the cause of all this is the woman's strange abilities. Someone is conducting some kind of experiment on her, but the woman doesn't believe she possesses any special abilities. She thinks it's certainly the people who have imprisoned her, creating illusions. Then the husband mentions something from the past. When their daughter was just born, they had an argument. Then, when the woman shouted, the mirror in their room suddenly fell. The mirror shattered around the man. The woman also tries to recall, but she has no clue. The woman's memories seem to be missing a lot. Plus, she is currently very weak. So, the woman wants to replenish her water to regain strength. Perhaps she's really too tired. After the woman finished drinking water, she collapsed to the ground. Then she fell into a deep sleep. When the woman was awakened by a nightmare, she found herself bound to the chair again. The husband also didn't know what had just happened. He quickly approached to comfort his wife. Meanwhile, the cold voice spoke again. Their new task is to put the ball into the bucket. The rules are the same as before. Then, disregarding the couple's doubts, the red light in the room turned on directly. The countdown started as well. The husband quickly urged his wife to use her previous abilities. After all, their daughter was still in the hands of the other party. The woman also hurriedly started to try, but she tried for a long time. The ball didn't respond at all. She didn't know how to use this ability. The woman saw that half of the time had already passed. Her anxious husband wanted to help, but the voice issued a warning again. Helpless, she prepared to move the chair. While the chair was fastened tightly with bolts, the man cautioned his wife, if she wanted to save their daughter, she had to concentrate. She just needed to use her mind to remove the bolt. He can push the table over here, because the bolts securing the table are smaller. So the woman started trying to concentrate. After a short while, one bolt was pulled out. With the surge of the woman's thoughts, more and more bolts were pulled out. In this way, the woman exerted all her energy. She pulled out the bolts. The husband was about to push the table, but the table was unusually heavy. Time was running out. The woman could only try to manipulate the small ball. She combined her previous experience. The small ball started to slowly fly into the bucket. The lights returned to normal. They completed the task once again. They had a brief rest period next. The man tried to help his wife recall past memories, but no matter how they communicated, the woman only had fragmentary memories. In the days that followed, the tasks kept changing continuously. For example, making her flip the books on the table with her mind, or making her put sand into the bucket, or making her rotate the glass bottle in front of her, making her shape the sand into specific forms. The woman managed to complete the tasks at critical moments every time, and she feels more and more comfortable to use her abilities. But as time passed, the man didn't know how much longer they would have to go on like this. He started becoming restless and anxious. The woman became increasingly numb while performing the tasks. They no longer communicated with each other. Finally, when the woman needed to assemble a weapon, the man exploded. He blamed everything on his wife. If it weren't for the woman, they wouldn't be trapped here. Their daughter wouldn't be in danger. The man called his wife a monster. His words instantly struck a nerve with the woman. Memories of their past arguments started to surface in her mind. Fragments of memories of their past arguments. The woman became angrier and angrier. The disassembled weapon was quickly assembled, but the assembled weapon was aimed directly at her husband. Meanwhile, the cold voice prompted. She needed to fire the gun, and controlled the rapidly firing bullets. The woman's eyes were blinded by anger at this moment. The man realized the situation was dire. He quickly mentioned their daughter. A gunshot rang out. The woman managed to control the bullets at a crucial moment. She also seemed to come to her senses. The lights turned white again. The woman was instantly stunned by an electric shock. When the woman woke up slowly, she found herself back on that beach. This time, she didn't see her husband and daughter. At the same time, she noticed her husband's ring. It appeared in the sand beneath her feet, but after the woman dug it out, what she saw was actually a severed finger. So the woman started digging again. Yet what she dug out was her daughter's shoe. The woman collapsed to the ground in despair. When the woman woke up again, she found herself back in the secret room, but this time, her husband was trapped inside a glass hood. As the lights turned red, the cold voice demanded that she need to rescue her husband within a certain time. Otherwise, the man would be buried in sand. The woman frantically pounded on the glass in fear. She tried to use her abilities, but she was too physically weak to do so. As the countdown grew shorter and shorter, the woman could only watch helplessly as her husband was buried in sand. She couldn't stop apologizing in her despair, but her husband would never appear again. The voice informed her that she had failed the task this time. The lights changed to another color. The woman knew her daughter was in imminent danger. She frantically begged for another chance, but the cold voice no longer responded. Her daughter was her only hope. The enraged woman finally exploded. She shattered the source of the voice. Meanwhile, the room's door suddenly opened. A well-equipped team rushed in quickly. The woman murmured, asking where her daughter was. She slowly stood up. The team members were unaware that a disaster was about to strike. The woman waved her hand. Instantly, the group of people fell to the ground. Then she used her abilities again. She directly snapped one person's neck. Then the woman dealt with the others using the same method, utilizing her own power. She finally walked out of the secret room. On the screen behind her, it said 0298. The woman didn't understand what it meant. Just then, more armed personnel rushed in. Without hesitation, they started shooting at the woman. However, the bullets couldn't penetrate near the woman. The woman's immense power shattered all the bullets. Then she continuously changed the form of her hands. The armed personnel were quickly twisted into ropes. The woman coldly lifted one of them into the air. Then she forcefully opened the person's mask. In the person's terrified expression, the woman forcefully gouged out an eyeball. Then she manipulated the eyeball for identification. The woman slowly walked into the elevator as the doors opened. When the elevator doors reached destination, she walked inside slowly. Nevertheless, the scene here, it was exactly the same as the place before. The difference is that the screen outside the secret room, it displayed 0297. Below the screen, there was also the word completed. The woman didn't understand what it meant, so she stepped onto the elevator again. When the woman arrived at the previous floor, the scene here was still the same as before, yet the surrounding colors indicated a difference. The woman walked over. To her surprise, she saw her husband. He was silently crouched in the middle of 3 doors. The woman slowly lifted his head, but the man only pointed towards the back, so the woman walked over and opened the first door. Inside the room, there were many bags. She opened one of them. Another husband appeared before her. The woman retreated in fear. The husband beside her had already gone insane. He kept muttering, "They are all like me." The woman just watched him leave quietly. Then she opened the second door. The room was filled with testing toys. She didn't know which toy to choose for testing, while the third door was filled with sand. The woman finally understood. She was truly just an experiment. At the same time, the woman encountered the same situation as before. An armed squad rushed over once again. Without a word, they started attacking the woman. The bullets were still completely blocked by the woman. She simply waved her hand lightly. This group of people quickly lost their ability to move. To confirm her suspicions, she lined up two of them facing each other. In the moment their masks opened. Indeed, they all looked exactly the same. Those two individuals couldn't believe such a bizarre scene. The woman knew that these people were all duplicates, so she manipulated them to kill each other. The scene shifted. Corpses lay everywhere she had been. Then she took the elevator again to the upper level. This floor was filled with darkness. Shortly after the woman walked in, a beam of light illuminated her. The woman asked them to return her daughter, but a cold voice suddenly said her daughter would never appear again. Right after, at the spot where the woman was injured on her head, a sophisticated device was activated. The woman's memories instantly flooded back. She finally remembered. Back then, she, her husband, and her daughter, they went to the beach to have fun together. It was supposed to be a warm and beautiful day. However, she had an argument with her husband over a bottle of alcohol. Then they erupted into a quarrel. Their daughter seemed accustomed to this scene. In the midst of their argument, the man accidentally slapped the woman. Anger quickly filled the woman's heart. As the woman clenched her fist, her superpower erupted completely. Her indiscriminate attacks overwhelmed her husband and daughter. After the woman realized what had happened, her daughter and husband were already lying on the ground. The woman, who knew the truth, broke down once again. She couldn't believe she had harmed her husband and daughter, but the voice did not respond to her. They directly opened a door and asked her whether she would stay or not. If she stayed, they would restore her memories. They would preserve the wonderful moment she had with her daughter. The woman murmured that her daughter was still waiting for her. Then she made a resolute decision. Soon, the woman heard her daughter's voice again.
Row your boat gently down the stream.
When the woman woke up again, she returned to the previous scene. The same scenario, the same sitting posture, the same pencil. Sometimes, when humans encounter ultimate despair, even though they know it's an illusion, they still hope to remain immersed in it forever. But when humans blindly evade like this, will the happen things truly get buried? If you enjoy my channel, please give me a subscription.